Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to a new chapter of First Chapter Friday. This week, I'm bringing you the very short first chapter of Girl Stolen by April Henry. April Henry is one of my favorite authors as she is a murder mystery author, and I know that I have expressed to many of my students this year to please pick up one of her stories and read them. They are fantastic. They keep you on the edge of your seat as you read through each chapter trying to figure out how the mystery is going to be solved. This story is a little bit different. It's not one of her typical murder mysteries. However, there are some situations in the story where you're like, what's happening here? But this story is about Cheyenne. Cheyenne is a girl who gets abducted. So she's hence the title Girl Stolen. So she is taken in a very kind of scary way because it's so normal. Like it's very, it could happen any day type situation. But the thing about Cheyenne is that there's something special about her that's going to make this abduction that much even scarier. We're going to find out what that is in chapter 1. So without further ado, I'm going to start reading. Hopefully you have your materials ready for your doodle for this morning. I'm interested to see either what words or what pictures you come up with in order to show your understanding of chapter 1. So here we go. We're going to start chapter 1. We're reading Girl Stolen by April Henry. Chapter 1 is titled 1,000 Things Wrong. Here we go. Cheyenne heard the car door open. She didn't move from where she laid curled up on the blanket, her head resting on her bent arm. Despite the blanket that covered her, Cheyenne was shivering. She had begged her stepmom to leave the keys in the car so she could turn on the heat if she got cold. After some back and forthing, Danielle had agreed. That had only been 5 minutes ago, and here she was, already back. Maybe the doctor had phoned in the prescription and Danielle hadn't had to wait for it to be filled. Now the door slammed closed, the SUV rocking a little as weight settled into the driver's seat. The engine started, the emergency brake clunked as it was released. The car jerked into reverse. It was 1,000 little things that told Cheyenne something was wrong. Even the way the door closed hadn't sounded right. Too fast and too hard for Danielle. The breathing was all wrong too, speeded up and harsh. Cheyenne sniffled. The smell of cigarettes. But Danielle didn't smoke, and as a nurse couldn't stand anyone who did. There was no way the person driving the car was her stepmom. But why would someone else have gotten in the car? It was a Cadillac Escalade, so it wasn't likely someone had just gotten confused and thought it was their car. Then she remembered the keys. Somebody was stealing the car. And Cheyenne was pretty sure they didn't know she was in it. She froze, wondering how much the blanket covered her. She couldn't feel it on the top of her head. Cheyenne felt like a mouse she had seen in the kitchen one time when she turned on the light before school. Caught in the middle of the floor, it had stood stock still, like maybe she wouldn't notice it if it didn't move. But it hadn't worked for the mouse, and now it didn't work for Cheyenne. She must have made some small sound, or maybe the thief had looked back to see if someone was following and then realized what the shape was underneath the blanket. A swear word, a guy's voice. She had already halfway known that it was a guy, the way she sometimes just knew things now. Who the hell are you? His voice broke in surprise. What are you doing in Danielle's car? The words collided and tangled, both of them speaking too fast, almost yelling. Sitting up, she scrambled back against the door, the one furthest from him. Stop our car and get out. No, he shouted back. The engine surged as he drove faster. Cheyenne realized she was being kidnapped, but she couldn't see the guy who was kidnapping her or where they were going, because for the last 3 years, Cheyenne had been blind. And that is chapter 1. If you want to find out what happens to Cheyenne, come see me. If you're a hybrid student, I would love to share my copy of Girl Stolen with you. A short and sweet first chapter Friday today. See you guys next week.